It's the 23rd of the 12th, 2024. The time is 5 minutes past 10. Christian Horner's given an interview with the infamous Simon Jordan of Talksport, talking about everything Formula One and more pertinently Red Bull. He's talked about Maximilian Verstappen and the challenges for 2025. He's talked very specifically about Checo Perez and the reasons why he had to go, going into detail, being very picky with his words. So too, he's talked about why Liam Lawson had to get the role and not Yuki Tsunoda. It is techier than techie things. Ladies and gents, I've watched it a gazillion times now, and each and every single time I come across a new thread, a new nuance that I want to speak to. Go on then, for the avoidance of doubt, for context, Simon Jordan on Talksport is techie in the UK, very controversial, very outspoken. So for Christian Horner to go on that show not long after he's been awarded with his CBE, the irony is not lost on me. It was always going to be a clash of the titans, a juxtaposition even of polemic figures. Simon Jordan being a football guy, now in 2024, more broadly sports. Christian Horner being an F1 guy, team principal of the Bulls that are red. As the first question, what happened to Checo Perez? Why did he keep him on so long? What were the terms under which he left? Has he been sacked? Christian Horner responded first, well, not quite. I wouldn't use that terminology. Ultimately, Checo is a big boy, and we had a big boy conversation. Checo realised that his performance wasn't up to par, not fit for purpose in 2024, and he therefore took the decision to walk away, do some other things. He's still going to be affiliated with the Red Bull Racing brand for next year. He will be doing show runs et al. But he knew that because of the fact that he was 280, as near as makes no difference, points shy of Maximilian Verstappen, that he'd cost Red Bull Racing the constructors. And because of that, it was as good a time now as any for Checo Perez to walk away. That doesn't mean to say that Checo Perez, says Christian Horner, wasn't once upon a time super important to Red Bull Racing. 2021 settings, Turkey, Abu Dhabi, instrumental in facilitating the championship going to one Maximilian Verstappen in 2021. But that was a while ago now, and this is now. F1 is a story told in tense. What have you done for me lately is all that counts. That's why Checo Perez had to go. Interesting though, the terminology. There's been an agreement, and I think within that agreement there is something of an NDA, and that's why Christian Horner's talking about it in these terms. When pushed on the performance clause, he doesn't even use those words. He says that we were all grown-up people and we all had a very grown-up conversation. Of course, there are things in the contract, he says, in inverted terms, that means that Checo Perez needs to perform to a certain level in order to keep that contract, but he's very careful about his terms. No mention of performance clauses, but we know at this stage that that's exactly what it was. Checo Perez was nowhere near, and they needed to be within 100 points at critical points in the championship. 280, as near as makes no difference, was the delta between Max and Checo in the championship at season end. What are we doing, ladies? I mean, you can't even write it. I still don't understand in real time how he managed to hold on to that place for so long. 20 million via Telemex Carlos Slim sponsorship notwithstanding, and all of the energy drinks and merchandise that Checo Perez sells in North America. Despite all of that, surely one of the greatest stories in F1 history, that Checo Perez managed to do the no te rindas cabrón thing for so bloody long, yeeting it into the barrier every single juncture. But I digress. When talking about the successor to Checo Perez, Liam Lawson, he says that Liam Lawson is mentally robust, that he has the minerals, that his shoulders are broad enough to withstand the pressure, the not insubstantial pressure that comes with being Maximilian Verstappen's teammate. He was asked to, we'll get into that more because there's another question about Yuki Tsunoda. Why Yuki and not Liam? But he was asked too about Max stepping over the line. Here's what he had to say. That all the greats, Senna, Hamilton and Schumacher inclusive, that they've all gone under that sort of scrutiny. At the time when they were in their pomp, all of the journalists, all of the F1 community indeed were asking the same questions of them. Were they too line steppy? Christian Horner says of his charge, if I can get my words out correctly, that Max is a tough operator, nothing if not that he'll go to any lengths to win. He's like a terrier on your ankle and he'll never give up. If you're going to pass him on track, Christian Horner says that you're going to have to work very, very hard to do so. Techier than techie things. So too he continues, Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda. Well, he says of Liam Lawson that he's a young, hungry lion, a tough operator, not dissimilar to Maximilian Verstappen, and that he's got to understand, per the footballing analogy, that in F1 that you can't have two centre forwards. He's ever so slightly off piste with that, which shows you how little Christian Horner knows about football, but conversely how much he knows about F1. Indeed, if you want to win a drivers' championship, then your team all need to be pulling in the same direction even. Therefore, there always needs to be a 1A and 1B, and in Liam Lawson they have now themselves a 1B. And it's important, particularly when you consider what Maximilian Verstappen means to Red Bull and F1, because Christian Horner broadens it out ever so slightly. Oh, stop glazing, Cameron. This is Christian Horner's words, not mine. He says of Max Verstappen that he should win the World Championship every single year because he is that guy. Says more specifically about Max that he's the most valuable asset to all of Formula One. That we'd be doing something wrong as a team if he didn't win that championship. Georgian contends as follows. Can you have a brilliant driver in an average car winning races and therefore championships? Christian Horner pushes back and says, well, not really. You need the car. You're always going to need the car. The car is the lion's share as far as contributants to getting yourself over the line. And he's right in that, isn't he, chat? If they don't give Max Verstappen a car, as they didn't do in H2 of 2024, then you can't expect to get over the line. Karun Chandok said most recently on the Sky Sports F1 broadcast that he hates the word outperform. I would push back on Karun Chandok that he knows what's meaning. Don't grice his razor me. You understand the sentiment behind outperform. That's to say this, that Max Verstappen in H2 absolutely outperformed the car. Don't do me with the saloon semantics, Karun Chandok. What are you talking? You understand what we're talking about, outperform. Of course you can't do something that's impossible in physics, but you get the terminology. Why did you choose Liam over Yuki? Now we had to get to brass tacks. Simon Jordan and co-host put forth the supposition to Christian Horner that way. Christian Horner had this to say, and this is where it gets techier than techie things, ladies and gents. He says of Yuki, Yuki's been in F1 4 years with the sister team. He's growing and he's doing a good job. But what Liam's done in such a short space of time, 11 races, the trajectory that he's on looks really promising. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what we talked about before, is it not? That Liam Lawson, notwithstanding the fact that he's been roundly outperformed by one Yuki Tsunoda in all but one of their races that they finished in 2024, Yuki Tsunoda's beat him. 6-zip is how much Yuki Tsunoda is beating Liam Lawson in head-to-head in qualifying. But the ultimate cumulative delta isn't material enough to do one of these to Yuki Tsunoda to enable him to overstep one Liam Lawson. He has that experience differential, and you've got to normalise for that. 11 races, and that's what Liam Lawson's doing. Christian Horner, I mean, the decision was made, was it not? If you forward forecast for Liam Lawson's learning curve. He says that doesn't rule out Yuki for the future, but for now, Liam has the right characteristics, the right strength of character to deal with the not insubstantial pressure that comes with being Maximilian Verstappen's teammate. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Christian Horner giving you the gospel. Therein lies the reason why they promoted Liam Lawson over Yuki Tsunoda. Now, the F1 community won't like that, but I think the way that he's put it, the terms in which he couches that proposition, I think they've done the right decision, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know whether that means, look, If I were a betting man, does that mean that Liam Lawson's going to be a success at Red Bull in 2025? My crystal ball is as murky as the next person's. Who knows? Of course, Maximilian Verstappen might destroy him, as he's destroyed so many other teammates. Sergio Perez being the latest in a long list. Alex Albon, Pierre Gasly, Daniel Kvyat, Danny Ricciardo, etc. etc. We'll have to see with Liam Lawson. It will get techie. So too, Christian Horner chimes in on his rivalry with Toto, the boy who cried wolf, saying again, as he does so banterfully, that they are different personalities, different characters, that they've come from different backgrounds. But F1 needs this, he says. You need different characters, just like F1 had back in the day with Williams and Ron Dennis, Fabio Briatore too. This is the rich tapestry of F1 history. And now, as at December 2024, between Toto and Christian as the two key protagonists in the team principal world in F1 as at 2024, it is no different. Asked whether F1 should be more collaborative in its approach going forward, that the teams need to work more together with a view to grow the sport into growth markets, as is the strategic objective of Liberty Media. He said as follows: F1, of course, we need to consider sustainability. We're growing into 2026. There will be new rules and regs, a new tech spec of car, active aero, et al. He says, though, what shouldn't be lost on F1 is that it shouldn't be a utopia. This is Chariots of Fire, engineering utopia. Yeah, cool, that all sounds good on paper, but in practice, that's not what F1 is, nor is it what F1 should be in the future. It shouldn't be an engineering utopia. This, ladies and gentlemen, in the one that F's, is person and machine, the upper echelon of, at the highest of levels. What F1 is in 2024 December of is modern day chariots racing. How do you like your F1, ladies and gentlemen? When Christian Horner gets into his bag, I think the sport is privileged, much the better for his presence. That's not to say that he's not been a line stepper, but how is that not in keeping with Red Bull's ethos as an organisation, as a high performance organisation that operates within fine margins? So too, he said of Max Verstappen that they like to win. He and Red Bull, the symbiosis of them, all they are interested in is winning. Simon Jordan pushed back and said, do you lose really well? Are you magnanimous in victory and defeat? Simon Jordan says, losers, show me a good loser and I will show you a loser. Christian Horner says, mate, we race hard. We're looking to win. That's our first order priority as strategic objectives. Therefore, it's techie, eh? Let me ask you this. Is Max Verstappen, very quickly and finally, is Max Verstappen the most valuable asset in F1? As he's titled this video, as per Christian Horner's supposition, I would argue in meritocratic terms, if we're talking performance, then Christian Horner's right, that Red Bull absolutely, if they provide Max Verstappen with a machinery, big if they can provide Max Verstappen with a machinery next year, 1000% in meritocratic terms, Maximilian Verstappen is absolutely the biggest asset in F1. The fastest driver for sure, as at December of 2024. Lewis Hamilton fans will talk differently. They will disagree, of course. And to a certain extent, deep down within, I want to disagree. But a fire-breathing dragon that is Maximilian Verstappen, it's hard for me to make that case in earnest. However, I will say this: if we're talking in marketing terms, if we're talking about growth markets and continuing to grow Formula One in a way that's congruent, goal congruent, in line with Liberty Media's strategic objectives going forward, I think you've got to throw Lewis Hamilton in there, you know, as in a crossover mainstream superstar. Do you know what I mean? By all metrics, as near as makes no difference, the most popular F1 driver on the grid, some F1 aficionados say. It's a conversation, ladies and gentlemen, and one that we'll continue having into 2025 as we embark upon a new era in Formula One. In the next couple of months, you will see Lewis Hamilton in red overalls with a yellow badge and a black horse. How much more blockbuster than that do you want to get? ladies and gentlemen of the F1 jury.